Hey besties, it's me, Sabrina. Welcome to Sabrina Reads and Roams. For any of you who are new here, hey, what's up? Hello, it's nice to meet you. So today we need to wrap up everything that I read in the month of April because it's birthday month time. So in my monthly wrap ups, what I'm currently doing is I'm just running through the books that I read really quickly, giving you my star ratings, giving you a very brief how I felt about it and telling you how I counted it in the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do, also known as Herkyed, for those of you who are following along with that year-long journey that is almost coming to a close. If you would like to hear some in-depth thoughts about each of these books, you can head over to my series that is called Friday Night Lit, where we talk about the books in detail and I give a vibe rating. So my star rating is different from my vibe rating. Vibrating that that does not sound right. My rating on the vibes, how much I vibed with the book. I have explained this before somewhere, but just very briefly, what I mean is when I'm rating it for a star rating, I'm really just talking about the book itself. How well was it written? And I have three pieces of criteria that I look at. That's the plot, the people, the prose. Like how well were those three things done? And that's how I give a star rating. My 5-star is what you think it is. This book was fantastic, incredible. I can't stop thinking about it. My 1-star, I probably really should have DNF'd this book. And to me, a 3-star is still a good rating. It's just not a wow book, but it's still good. Okay. When I do a rating for vibes, it's just like it could have been really poorly written, but I had such a good time reading it and it can get 5 hearts. The vibes were high, even if the book was not great. So that's kind of the difference between the two ratings. But here you're going to get the star rating that I gave each of these books. And like I said, we're going to find out how I counted it in Herkyed. I'm also thinking of changing up how I do the Herkyed videos if and when we decide if we're going to participate in Herkyed 3.0. That's coming probably in July though. So just, stay tuned to the channel for that. You know what? Go ahead while we're here, while we're talking about it, go ahead, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it already. That way you won't miss out on anything. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Okay. Now let's get into our April wrap up. So the first book that I read was Trouble at First by Cheryl Campbell. This one was super cute. I pulled a prompt for this. I don't think I have the prompt here, but I can tell you off the top of my head. The prompt that I pulled out of the TBR jar to get this book was to read a sports romance book. And so that's what we have here. This one's written by a local author, and the main character, the main female character, goes to my alma mater. So I bought this book from the author herself because I overheard her at a book festival talking to some other people about the book and about the characters. And she said the name of my college. And I was like, no one has ever heard of my college before. That's crazy that you would have a character who goes there. So naturally, I had to buy it. And then I read it. So yay. I like this book. I thought it was super cute. I don't know a thing about baseball. And honestly, I don't care a thing about baseball, but I liked the book and I gave it 3 stars. I did find it to be a little bit repetitive at some parts, but that's okay because it actually made it faster to read because I didn't have to stop to think about any of the plot points that I might have been like forgetting about or things that like would help the story progress. She kind of just put it back out there for me. So that, I don't really begrudge her for that. This is a romance. It's not meant to be, I don't think, a deep thinking book. So I was okay with that, but just be warned, it's a touch repetitive sometimes. I could not count this for anything in Herkyed, any of the remaining prompts that I have, but you are allowed to collect bonus points or points for each book that you read during the challenge. And those points can be used to offset different parts of Herkyed. So Herkyed is a year-long challenge. It is a large reading challenge that is made up of 25 individual reading challenges. And within those 25, there are different things that you have to do. Obviously, these are challenges. And so some of these, you can replace them with points that you've earned by reading books that meet certain metrics, such as having been on your TBR prior to starting Herkyed, having a author who is an author of color or an author in the queer community or anything like that. Anyway, this one earned me 9 points. Then I read an ARC copy of To Steal a Throne by Gabby Burton. This one is a YA fantasy. And listen, I love a baddie, okay? But this baddie ruined literally everything for herself in this story. And I was just mad about it. Like, why would you behave this way? And then I realized she's a teenager. what are you going to do? You know, the story itself is a little bit convoluted, but basically we have this girl who is like trying to steal the throne from her half brother. I don't know. Friends, listen, there were a couple of continuity errors in here that kind of it like made me pause. I would not say that they detracted from the story, but it made me pause and have to think like, wait, now how does that? And I had to like flip back to be like, does that? No, that's wrong. I will say, I did say that I read an ARC copy of this. So ostensibly, these continuity errors could have been fixed since publication. This book is now published. You can go pick it up and read it yourself. So you please do that because I rated it 3 stars. Overall, I had a good time. I really like where this was going. I can't remember if this is supposed to be a series or if it's a standalone. I think it's a series, in which case I would like to read the next book. So this one also did not count for any prompts in Her Kid, but it did give me 18 points to use. We'll take that. The next book that I read is The Dragon Wakes with Thunder. This is book 2 in the Dragon Spirit duology. The first book is, what's it called? The Night Ends with Fire. There we go. This is the story of Mulan. And basically book 1 is based on the story of the lady who inspired Mulan. It's the non-Disney version of Mulan, I'll tell you that much. And then book 2 kind of picks up right where that real person's story actually ends. And the author takes us in their own direction. I picked this one up because I was planning to read The Night Ends with Fire. And I was just in the mood to like binge a whole fantasy series. And so I thought maybe we should start small because I've never done a video like that before. So I started with just a duology. And since I was already reading book 1 of this series, I thought the natural place to go would be to read that book and then read this one and call it my series binge. And so I do have a whole vlog dedicated to reading this series. And you're getting my super unfiltered thoughts on both of the books and the series as a whole. So I will put it up here on the screen somewhere, you know, the little linky thingy that people do. I'll do that. And you guys can go check that out if you would like to hear all of my unfiltered thoughts on this series, okay? Because there were a lot of thoughts that I had about this series. Anyway, this book itself, I rated 3 stars. I thought that it was decent, but unnecessary to the duology. And I'm trying to think. So originally it didn't count for anything in Her Kid, but then I was able to rearrange how I was using a couple of books. And so basically what I ended up with was an empty slot in the ABC challenge for the letter X in either the author's name, which we have KX Song, or the start to the title of the book. So obviously that's not where that came from. So I used the letter X in the author's name to count in the ABC challenge. And with that, I think I only have one more book that has to be read in that section. Go off, Queen. I have graphics on the screen and they're not exactly going to match what I'm telling you, because I said I only have one more to go in that challenge. But if you look at the graphic that's on the screen right now, that's not what it says. And the reason is because I shuffled a lot of books around, and to be perfectly honest, I don't exactly remember the order of the shuffling or what happened along the way. I probably should have kept notes on that, knowing that I was going to be talking to you guys about it, but I didn't. So you're seeing the graphic. I'm leaving the graphic that way because I'm going to do a video where we kind of catch up on all of the ones where I shuffled. To the best of my memory, I'm going to tell you what happened with the shuffling and how we ended up here. But I'm leaving the graphic this way. But just know that whatever I'm verbally telling you is where we're literally actually at in that part of the challenge, okay? I'm sorry. I know that's confusing, and I know I could just fix the graphic, but my particular brand of neuroses will not allow me to do it, okay? I just have to leave it the way that it is so that I have a continuity from video to video on the graphic. So when we get to the catch-up video, you'll understand what I do have issues. I am aware. It's fine. We're going to move on to the next book, though. Okay. Just bear with me. We're almost done with the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. And I already know what I want to do differently going forward. I think it will be better. I think it will be clear. I think it will be easier to follow. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. Oh, except I think I forgot to tell you guys in all of that rambling about Herkyed that this earned me 16 points. Then I read A Killer Kind of Romance. So this one was a mashup of genres that I don't typically read. So, I mean, it's romance, which not to say that I don't read romance, but it's not one of my like go-tos. I think they're out of frame, but I have an entire one of these shelves behind me that's full of nothing but romance books. And they're probably the most untouched books that I own because I just don't reach for romances very often. I have to be in a very particular type of mood for a romance book, but I keep buying them. I think I'm in the mood for them when I buy them and then I put them on my shelf and I'm like, well, anyway. So this is a romance. It's also murder mystery. There's also a cat. There's family drama in it. And I'm like, none of these things are historical fiction or fantasy. Why am I reading this book? Well, I read it for two reasons. One, because my husband gifted it to me for Valentine's Day, and I felt a sense of obligation to it at some point in time. But two, because we had a book club meeting, and the book club theme was books about serial killers. And you can interpret that however you want. We had such an interesting mix of books that were read for the serial killer challenge. One had a dog featured as a serial killer. One actually read one where people were being killed with cereal. So I love having a theme that everyone's open to interpret however they want because I think it made book club so interesting. And anyway, this is the one that I read because I was running short on time and I could not make up my mind about what kind of serial killer book I wanted to read. And I happened to just already own this one because it was given to me. So that made my choice a little bit easy. So I read this and I'm so glad that I did. I rated it 4.25 stars. And I mean, that's huge for a bunch of genres I don't really be reading. I thought it was done very, very well. And even though there were like a lot of different things all squished into one book, and it's not the shortest book ever either. I thought it was done very, very well and I liked it. That's the most important part is that I liked it. Oh, there's also a podcast about books in here, which is actually, I don't know why I'm saying also, like that's kind of the main like impetus, the main driver of the story is the podcast about books. That's where we come into the serial killerness. Okay. Anyway, so this was done very well. I rated it very highly. I highly recommend you guys read this. I've never heard of this author before, but I will be looking for some more of their books just because. So in Herkyed, I counted this in the last 10 years challenge, which is actually 12 years. Don't ask me about the math. I believe the creator of the challenge, Stephanie, she kind of screwed up on the math when she announced it. She called it the Decades Challenge, the last 10 years challenge, but she actually meant for you to read 11 years. And she gave the option to do 2015 to 2025 when the challenge started, or 2016 to 2026 when the challenge is ending. I just said, why not do both? And so I'm doing 2015 to 2026. And so this counted as my 2026 book, above and beyond, but that's who I am, right? It's fine. And it gave me 5 points to play with. Then I listened to The Tempest Blade by Danielle L. Jensen. Now this one is book 6 in the Bridge Kingdom series. You guys, this series, if you go back through my channel, you will see my journey from start to finish now with this series. Book 1, I did not love. Book 2, I was kind of meh about. But the internet kept telling me, you have to push through, best friend. And I was like, I really don't think that I should have to push through. But let me tell you something. I am so excited that I pushed through. And now, even though I didn't love books 1 and 2, I have shelf trophies of them because the rest of the series was so freaking good, but you have to read books 1 and 2 in order to understand the rest of the series. So it's like, you can't just leave them out. Okay. I am at the point with this series where I would love to do a reread. I'm planning to do a reread. I'm going to do a tandem reread of this. Danielle so kindly has put together a tandem reread guide on her Instagram, which is what I plan on doing. I'm going to break out the tabs and everything. So as soon as Herkyed is over with, that's what I'm going to focus my energy on, is doing a reread of the Bridge Kingdom series because I loved it that much. This book in particular was basically perfect. Listen, when I finished book 5, I asked out loud because I'm certain that Danielle can hear me from her house in like Canada or wherever she lives. I asked out loud if we could just have a book 7 that was all 6 of the main characters from this series. So if you're unfamiliar with the series, it's 6 books. Each 2 books is like its own duology within the greater series, and it focuses on a different couple. So I asked out loud if we could just have a book 7 that was all 6 of the characters, like from all of their perspectives, kind of just like tying a bow on the series, not knowing that your girl had already given us that in book 6. Okay. It was already there. It was already done. Mama delivered with a freaking sparkly bow on top. And I love her for that forever and ever. Amen. Okay. Now I need to go read the rest of her series that she's written, because if they're anything like Bridge Kingdom, I'm going to need that in my life. I'm just putting that out there. I'm just saying. I also really, really enjoyed that there was like a nod towards the future, like in a tiny little bit at the end of book 6. So there is the possibility that she could write more in this universe, in this kingdom, in the Bridge Kingdom in the future, should she choose to. Okay, there's room for that. I'm just saying. I rated this one 4.75 stars. It only could have been just a smidgen better to me. I rate the series on a whole very, very highly. And so I freaking love it. And I think that this is one that potentially I should just bump up to a 5-star, but I'm being a little stingy. I am. And I don't really know why, because believe me, it was fantastic. So I wasn't able to count this for any of the prompts in HerkEd. I will say that I read books 1 through 4 and they counted as my quadrology in HerkEd. So I should get some extra points. Oh, actually, you know what? Why am I saying I should get extra points for finishing the series? I did get extra points for finishing the series. Remember, I told you can get points in HerkEd for reading a book, even if you don't count it as a prompt. And this one earned me 12 points. And part of that is because I finished a series that is 4 books or more. Now, every month when I do my wrap up, I put a book up here in this case, and that is my book of the month. So I would be putting The Tempest Blade up there. That's actually book of the month, but I listened to it on audio and I do not currently own a copy of it. So I need to run out and pick up a shelf trophy of this so I can put it up there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave Frederick Bachman up there until I can get a shelf trophy of it, or until it just becomes the following month. I don't know if I'm going to get the shelf trophy anytime soon, but once I do, I will be putting it up there because that's actually book of the month. I'm just gonna paste the picture of it right there. It's fine. I gotta hydrate. By the way, this has nothing to do with this video and this is not sponsored, but I just want you to know how much I love this BrüMate era cup. It is incredible. I am a cup queen and I've gone through so many iterations of cups, the Stanleys. Stanleys aren't actually that great, but I went from the Stanleys, I went to the Simple Moderns, I went to a different type of Simple Modern, went back to the Stanleys, I had some other cup company, I can't even remember what it was, and now I went to BrüMate, and listen, BrüMate has done the thing. This sounds like it's an ad, doesn't it? I swear to you it's not. And then when you want to drink out of it, you just swivel the lock open and it's ready to go. It has that silicone flex straw, and I don't have it with me because I left it downstairs, but they make a magnetic straw cap for this that goes over it so that like nothing can like crawl down into the hole there. And it's magnetized to the little locking mechanism up here. This is all magnetic. The best part, the thing is, I used to use Simple Modern, and the thing that they never solved was how do you clean like the inner gaskets of the silicone straw situation? You couldn't do that on Simple Modern. Comes all the way apart and you can do it. BrüMate does not care about me. I just want you guys to know how superior the Era cup is. Anyway, if you're not hydrating, make sure you start hydrating. Get yourself a BrüMate. Okay, tell BrüMate I sent you. Maybe they will care about me after you tell them that. I'm thirsty and I thought I would share that with you guys because when there's a good product, there's a good product, and maybe you just need to know what water bottle you need. So then after that, I read Witch Queen Rising, which is another arc that I read by another Black author. So this was the month for arcs written by Black women. And we love that. I mean, go off. I love this one. And it is Black witches in New Orleans. So like, What more could you want? I mean, Savannah Stevens gave us more. There were all sorts of supernatural creatures. They had vampires, there were werewolves, and the like interplay between the different supernatural creatures and the family drama. Oh my God, it was so freaking good. I I really like this. And then, she was communing with the ancestors. It was very New Orleans. Like, I loved so much about this book. There was one thing that I didn't love about the book. And it's the reason why I gave it 4.5 stars instead of 5 stars, is that I felt like there were some storylines that just kind of got forgotten about. And they weren't like incredibly crucial to the story. But in my brain, I'm like, no, baby, what happened? Tell me how it ended. Listen, I told you guys I am a nosy Parker. Like, I need to know everything at all times. And for there to be a storyline that just like didn't get finished, not working for me. It's fine though. It's fine. I think everybody else is fine with it. It's just me. So 4.5 stars. I was not able to count this as any of my prompts in Herc yet, but it did net me 16 points, and we'll take that. Then I listened to a slew of audiobooks this month. I must have been driving quite a bit. The first of those is How to Train Your Dragon by Cressida Cowell. This is the middle grades book. I am pretty sure that like literally everybody has already heard of How to Train Your Dragon because it is an animated series as well as a very lengthy book series. I think there are like 12 books in this series. I don't know. But anyway, so I listened to this on audio. Shout out to Libby for having all these audiobooks that I listened to. Except for The Bridge Kingdom. That one is an Audible exclusive, but Libby had all the rest of these, okay? So Libby be holding it down, okay? I thought that this one was super cute, although I will say that I did think that some of the meanness and like sort of like the bullying that happens in the book was a little bit, it was laid on a little bit thick, but maybe that's just me not being the actual target audience for this book, and maybe it's not that bad. So maybe I'm just being a little sensitive person. I don't know. But anyway, I thought it was a little bit strong. There were also some adult jokes in there, which definitely made me chuckle. I was like, oh, the kids wouldn't get this, but I thought it was really funny. So overall, I thought the book was super cute. I rated it 4 stars. And in Herkyed, which is the reason why I was reading this at all, I counted this as one of the books for my TBR game, which I played the cat and mouse game. I can, if you want to see me play that game and play myself, like I literally played myself with that game. And that's why I'm in a really bad situation right now with how many books I need to read. But if you want to see what happened in that, I have a video. I can link you to that video as well, where I played the cat and mouse game by Leandra the TBR Zero. And so this was one of the books that was chosen, and it also counted as an adaptation of an animation. So I can now check that box off. Oh yeah, and it earned me 5 points, and we're always open to points, okay? After that, I listened to Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang. There was literally no point in this book where I did not want to smack the hell out of the main character, Junie. Ma'am, Junie was doing every kind of racist thing she could possibly imagine doing. Junie was literally the worst kind of Karen there is. Junie was terrible. Junie the white woman, Junie stole a manuscript from her friend, her Asian friend. I don't know if we would call them friends because she stole her manuscript after she died. She watched the lady die, and then she was like, well, since you're not going to publish this book and you're such a better writer than I am, I'm going to publish it under my name. Junie, no. Mm-mm. And then Junie allowed her publishers to tell her, to dictate to her that she should go by Junie Song. So she kind of sounded Asian because the book was about Asian things. Now, granted, Song was her middle name, but like, that's a choice, mama. That is a choice that you are making, okay? Anyway, Junie was insufferable on literally every single page, or since I listened to it, I guess every single chapter, every single track of that audiobook. Junie was insufferable. And I would still like to smack her. So I will say to you, Rebecca Kuang, well played. This was beautifully well done. So I rated this 4.25 stars. And I am trying to think. So this counted in the TBR game. And I think it was on there because I was supposed to use it for AAPI Heritage. But when I did the big shuffle around, I ended up using Babel, also by R.F. Kuang, in the AAPI square. So it doesn't actually have a second prompt that it goes to. But whatever. It still earned me 10? Yeah, it still earned me 10 points. Then I listened to Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. The longest meh that ever med. I don't know. It was a little too silly for me. Like, and like not silly in a funny way. Like it was just, that was my alarm going off, reminding me to hydrate. That means it is time for me to chug the remainder of this and refill it. I'm not going to do that because I'm hanging out with you guys right now, trying to get through the April wrap up. But that's what that was. Anyway, so I don't know. I think I'm missing something. It's me or it's it. But either way, it didn't work. I rated it 2 stars. And that was the best I could give it. I know that I was listening to this and I was driving and I was like, I don't care about this and I don't want to listen to it anymore. But I also am unwilling to pull over to find something else to listen to. So I just let it continue playing. So this counted for me in the TBR game. And it also counted in adaptations because it was an adaptation of a web series. And it earned me 5 whole points. I was never going to read this before I had to read it for her get it, for being honest. So I'm okay with it not being great. Before we get to the last book that I actually read, let me tell you about this sucker that I DNF. Now, if you want to hear all of the nitty gritty about why I DNF'd it, go on over to Friday Night Lit. But this is Ghost Lover by Lisa Taddeo. It was terrible, honey. It had like women hating women. It had body shaming. It had fat shaming. It had egregious sexual assault in it. Like, why do we need all of this in a book? And like, I don't feel like it was really even about anything important. So it was a no for me. I DNF'd it at like 25% in. I couldn't freaking do it. Okay. Anyway. Then the very last book that I actually read and finished was The Maker of Swans by, I'm going to say, Perrick O'Donnell. I think I need Gaelic lessons because there are so many authors, so many characters, so many place names that are rooted in Gaelic words or are just Gaelic words. And I don't know how to say them. I don't know how to pronounce them. I've got you on the Germanic languages because obviously I speak English moderately well. I can handle a Romance language, a Latin-based language. I can handle those pretty easily. But the Gaelic, I can't, it's really difficult. I don't know how to pronounce anything. And I think I need to take some lessons. So anyway, The Maker of Swans. Listen, if ever there were a book where something happened, but the author flat out refused to tell you what actually happened, and you read that and you came to me and you said, Bestie, this book was great. We don't know what happened in it. I would call you a liar. But then I read this book, and that's exactly what happened in this book. Now, something happened, and there was a story here, but Perrick never actually tells us what was really happening. It's just kind of like open to your interpretation, and that's the best that I know how to tell you about this book. It was fantastic. I loved every single freaking minute of it, okay? I rated this 4.5 stars. It's just a book full of hints of what may or may not be happening right now. But it's also like a villain origin story. And I think that's as much as I can tell you. I did take off 0.5 star for it being overly verbose, even though that didn't really bother me while I was reading it. Like, I was just like, that's a lot of words, best friend. That's a lot of words for you to tell me that he's going down the stairs. I mean, 6 pages later, and we're still talking about that. But like, it didn't actually bother me to the point where I like wanted to throw the book, because like I will get in the mood to throw a book really quickly. Okay. And I never actually got there with this. I was enraptured the whole freaking time. I don't think that's the right word, but I was in this the whole time, you know, like I was so ready for like something to pop off. And I think it's because it was so vague. It was like, we're building up, and you can feel the tension of like getting there. And then like, that's it. The rest is up to you. And I'm like, okay. So Perrick O'Donnell edged us the whole way through this book. Can I even say that on the internet? That's what happened, okay? I'm not even gonna lie to you, but I still rated it 4.5 stars because it was so freaking good. I loved it. And actually, since I don't have a copy of The Tempest Blade, maybe I'll just put this one up there instead, even though The Tempest Blade is the winner. So for Herked, I used this in the TBR game, and the reason it was part of the TBR game is because I needed something to fit into the Decades Challenge for 2016. And so this was our book. It was originally published in 2016 and it earned me 5 Herkyed points. So that's it, friends. That's what I read in the month of April. And I dare say I had a pretty good time doing it. Now, you will have already seen my May/June TBR. That video, I'm currently going through it. So I'm going to cut this off right here. And I'm going to go put my head back into some books because I have a lot that needs to be read, like right now. Okay, here we have it. And with that said, I know you guys already subscribed because we talked about that at the top of the video. But since you made it this far, go ahead and hit the like button. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know, have you read The Maker of Swans? I want to talk to someone else who has read this book because I need to like stew it over with somebody. Okay, so if you've read that, please let me know. Let's talk. You hit my inbox, whatever. So what am I talking about? Like, subscribe, do all those beautiful YouTube things. And I will then plan to see you guys in the very next video.